Welcome back to another Unstoppable recap. Now, family, this is the very first time that I'm uploading a part 2 to any stories shared on the recap channel. But based on your feedback to part 1, I felt it only fitting that you would know that there's a part 2 to this episode. And I saw your comments, the feedback, the response after you heard part 1 of this story and you went over to the live channel to listen to the continuation. Thank you so much for the support that you gave in the comment section on part 1. Now, which story is this exactly? This is the experience that was shared where the mother witnessed the murder of her very own son, and then the murderer turned the gun on her and shot her in her ears. Now this time she is here to share her part 2, and in part 2 she is explaining how another child was murdered, but this time at the hands of the police, and how horrific it all played out. Family, take a listen to this episode that was shared on Unstoppable Live.
I was in coma for 3 months, I was told by my sister. And even the doctors, when I came out of the coma, I remember the doctor said to me, I didn't think you could make it, honestly. And 9 months after, I didn't remember anything. I didn't remember that I had a son. I had that son. I didn't remember anything at all. I was back to baby stage. My sister had to look after me, and my daughter-in-law, they had to look after me, bathe me, do me, whatever, feed me and all those things, because I was like a vegetable back again, back in a state of a vegetable. Anyway, 9 months after, I want to share something before I go there. While I was in coma, this happened next month, gonna be 21 years. While I was in the coma in November after it happened, the guy who kicked the door, he killed another little boy, brother, and the little boy saw him one day and shot him 4 shots to his head. 9 months after, it's like I was trying to get used to the one eye, because I didn't born with a one eye. I just come into deal with something like this. And I told my sister that, because every time I have to go to the hospital, my church brothers come and carry me. But I told my sister that day, I said, I want to get out. I want to go out on my own. I want to see how I can deal with this. So I said, okay, I'll go down to the church. I'll take a bus and go down to the church and go to the prayer room and spend some time in prayer. I took the bus, I went to church. And when I went down to church, my pastor said, what are you doing here? I said, I want to get used to the one eye, on my own. He said, go back home instantly. And I said, but I just need to pray. He said, get back out and go back home now. The guys then find out that I didn't die. And they were coming up to the church every time service, or in the day, they will just come and stand across the street. Okay. I leave. And when I leave out, I had a friend live around the next lane from the church. And I said, all right, let me go and check her. And I went around there. She wasn't there. When I was coming back down the lane to go and catch back a bus to go home, something said to me, look across the street. When I look across the street, 2 of the boys who came the night, and one of them men, I make 3, because it's 3 eyes now. And he said, see the girl there, see the girl there. And they run me down. The only place I could run into was with the watermen who do the water work thing up with the cars on the road, who deal with cars on the road. I had to run in that place. And the fright that took me, and see the two guys run after me. I run into the place, straight into the people in office, and I wet up myself. The fright that took me, I wet myself, and cold sweat was washing me. My heart was beating rapidly. I couldn't even speak. And one of the officers, the officer said, "Give her some water, give her some water," because they realized I couldn't speak. They gave me water, and they said, "Sit down for some time." I sat down, and they tried to coax me, they tried to talk to me, and when I could talk, I told them what happened, and they said, "Okay, sit for a while," and they went out, like went out to look, but they said they didn't see anybody out there, so they took me to the bus stop and put me on a bus, and I went home. My sister cried so much. I gave it a long time after, and I came back again. I gave it about 3 months after, and I went back again up to the church. And my pastor said, "Listen to me, they are still coming looking for you. So please, if you need to find another branch of the church to go, because they are looking out for you." I said, "All right." I'm coming down the road from the church, and I saw a church sister at the crossroad. And we were talking. She was even saying, "You're not scared because I'm walking up and down, and things like that." Anyway, I heard she said, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh." And I said, "What is it?" She said, "One of them coming down from the church right now, and the gun is playing in his side, that he had a gun. But there were some men who sit there playing domino. And if I did ever open my mouth and said, 'This is one of the guy that killed my son,' they would have killed him right there. But I couldn't, because as a child of God, I have to forgive." I turned around and I said, "God, cover me under your blood." And I walk up. It didn't even realize it was me. I walk up to him, and is one of the guys who me and that guy grew up from little boy and little girl days, because their mother lived next door, my mother. And he couldn't look in my face. He couldn't look he couldn't even lift his hand to touch the gun in his waist. And I said, "Listen to me, I forgive you, and God will forgive you. Let's go back up at the church and you ask God for forgiveness. We are coming too far. I know it's the devil used you to do this, to get me out. I don't blame you, I blame the devil." And he couldn't speak. He was frozen. The church sister stand there, she was trembling. But he couldn't say a word. And I was there with him for a little while until he said, "It's all right." And he walked away. He walked away, and somebody saw when I was talking to him, and went and tell the guys. And they run him down, right back on the same road. And they shot him 6 times in his head, blew out his 2 eyes. I went home and I said, "You know what? I'll kind of keep myself off the street." I keep him because I was just scared to walk and go anywhere. Anyway, it so happened that my big son, every year the MP gave somebody the contract to clean up the gully for the Christmas and whitewash the sidewalk. That was 2001, December 2001. And the first one was November 99. And he get the contract that year. The Dunman ear, that is him, get the contract. I wasn't there. I was in another city doing my ear. And the lady who lived across the street, she was at our gate, and she said, the Dunman came up to him and said, "Starmere said, you get the contract, so won't let off some money." My son said to him, she said, "Get out of my face. Because the little girl them that on a walk, I'm pregnant up." When you rape the little girl and get them pregnant, they drop out of school, they have no help, and you guys leave them with the responsibility on their own. Get out of my face. And she said, Kirk took my son took his bicycle and walk off. And his friend called to him and said, wait for me, because he and the friend work same place. The guy, the done man, came in front of him, the lady said, and said, point in his face and said, watch and so me go do it, your boy. And the guy, the friend, jump on the bicycle front and they ride off. They went to work. 4:30, I was over in another city doing my ear in Portmore. And I feel a sharp pain cut across my tummy, very sharp. And I screamed, and the girl said, what happened? What happened? And I said, my tummy, something happened to one of my children. She said she'll hurry up and do my ear more faster. When I came over, a gentleman saw me at King Street, and he said, Joan, girl, what a thing happened. And I said, what happened? He said, you don't hear them kill your son. Jesus of mercy. He just choked in my face like that. It's like I turned fool. I jump into a taxi. Up until this day, I don't know if I even paid the taxi man, but the taxi man knew me. And he carried me around to where I live. And they carried me, my niece and my sister carried me out to where they killed my son. The done man called his police friend, sent him to my son's workplace. The lady who sells fruits out there said she saw the police car parked there, but she thinking it's drink them come for them friend to go and drink because it's Christmas coming. That was the 25th, the 21st of December. And she said, as my son come through the gate, him and his friend on the bicycle, the police car drive round in front of him and said, get off the bicycle. And she said, he said, what have I done? I just coming from work. What have I done? And he said, boy, I said, get off of the bicycle. The workers, she said, was getting upset and said, leave the young man alone. The young man just coming from him work. That's all in a good for except from people, children, all them, the workers were talking. And Kirk said, the guy, the friend, he jumped off the bicycle and he ran. And the other police run him down. And the officer would tell him to get off the bike, hold to his gun and said, get off the bike. And the lady said, my son asked him 2 more times, officer, what have I done? And the first shot was straight in his throat. And when his body dropped to the ground, the policeman stand over him, she said, and all the people were screaming for murder. He shot him until my son died on the spot. They took my son's body to the morgue, and the officer robbed my son's wallet of money and his new pair of Clarks that was on his feet, because I didn't get anything when I came over and went to the morgue. The guy in the morgue said, mother, that's how we see them carry him come here bare feet and his pocket turned out. When I look at my son's body, I went cold. I couldn't cry. I just went numb. He died with his eyes open. And a lady who was there said before his last breath leave him, he and his girlfriend was together 8 years, and they just have the first baby, and the baby was just 6 months old. And the lady said that's the last word come out of his mouth, his baby name. I went over the station and I said, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, you're going to be sorry, because when you touch one of God's children, you touch him, and the wrath of God shall come upon you. You murdered my child in cold blood, and then you're going to put it, say it's shoot out. And the inspector who was in there knew me, and he came out and said, "Wait, I never hear you talk so hard. You're surprised. I didn't even know it was you." And he said, "What happened?" I said, "That officer," and appointed him. I said, "That officer, this," and the same time when I felt the pain, 4:30, when my eye went on the clock, when the pain struck me, that was the same time the people them say he was murdered. And I said that police murdered my son in cold blood and in front of his workplace. And the inspector was saying, "But what I heard, it was a shooter." I said, "No, they threaten the people them and tell them if they want to keep them out, their life, they have to keep them out." Because even when the amnesty went there, nobody would open their mouth and say anything. And the fruit lady, the same fruit lady, she said, Mr. D, if we want to keep our life, we have to keep our mouth. They let the police, let the boys, the man, them at the morgue, put my son's body into a fridge, not working, from the 21st of December, and didn't give me the paper to identify his body until the 5th of January. When I went for the post-mortem, when my son's body came out the van, everybody screamed who was there to identify their people. Everybody screamed and said, "My gosh, whose child is this?" He was black beyond black. And his eyes drop out. His eyes only, his eyes drop out, his nose gone, his teeth gone, his lips gone, his skin was running down. Like through them take him out, his skin was running down. He was stink, he was stink, he was stink. When they called my name, everybody said people was just looking and saying, "Oh my God, is she alone? She alone going inside there? She alone?" Because nobody would come with me. It's just me and God. When they called my name to go in there to identify his body in the room, and the doctor tried to tilt the head a little and say, "You sure you can take this?" And I shake my head because I couldn't talk. And he kind of tilted the head a little and said, "Look what happened. This is what left of your child. If you're sure it's your child, this." The scalp lift off. And the doctor have to let a flash it with his tear off the gloves off his hands. All I could say was, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus," just to give me strength to not collapse, because I felt like I was gonna collapse. And like the doctor saw it, and he called the man outside the water and said, "Come and take this woman out here." And before I went out, he said, "You're sure this is your child?" And it's the tag on his hand with his name. That's how I knew it was my child. He had a friend who do those kind of work, and I had to come and tell the friend, and the friend said, "Don't worry, Mom, I will put back a face on him." Is that same day when the police murdered my son, his brother from England came down to carry him up to England. The same day he was murdered. He gave me the money and said, "You know what, buy his castic and buy his spot." I went, I bought his castic, and I get the spot um in Spanish Town there. And I had to bury my son quickly, the way how he was thinking. Even in the church, his body was stink, and the casket couldn't open, and his body still smell in the church. All through it, that's when the time I could cry, because all through the other time I was just numb. That's the time I break down and cry. And we took him, the funeral went on, and we took him to Medares and buried my child. One, and the funniest thing, the part that I got was across from the next brother. I couldn't stand it. It was more than I could take. it was more than I could take. All right, we come out and we leave, and I just I couldn't talk to people. It coming like my senses was just going because I couldn't keep a conversation. I was just keeping myself to myself. And after that, I get his brother who came for him to come to England. The brother sent for the next brother, and then they sent for me, and I leave Jamaica. Yeah, I migrate Jamaica, and before I migrate, um, I was again. I tried to. My sister thought I was getting like I was locking out, locking out everyone. And I told her, you know what? I just want to just walk, just take a walk one day. And as I walk out of the yard, I walk right into the guy mother, and the lady couldn't look at me. She couldn't look in my face. And I went to her and I said, I love you, and I have nothing against you, because it's not you do me anything. So don't feel any way not talking to me. And she said, Joan, I can't look at you. I can't. Because I couldn't believe my son would have done that to you. After that, now I migrate and came to this country, and I came and got a work to work into somebody's name, which I didn't too like, but I needed the work, I needed the money, and I worked there for that place for a while, and leaving it come. So I got 6 months, and 4 months was going off, and one day I sat down and flashback was taking me. Oh my gosh! And two of the girls saw me crying, and they said, "What happened?" And I shared my story with them, and they said, "No, you need to seek asylum." And they told me where to go to a dread who come from Jamaica. And I went to the dread and I explained everything to him. And him said, "No, man, you can't go back there." He said, "No, man, I'm going to get you set up. I'm going to get you set up and everything, get a lawyer for you." He carried me to a lawyer, a lawyer man. And the lawyer said, when he heard the story, the lawyer said, "My gosh, woman, and you're still in your right mind." Anyway, he said he will take the case. And I was turned, I was frostbitten because they put me into a home, a house, and they turned me down and they throw me out in -0 snow. I have nowhere to go. I was frostbitten. It
But
come back.
hold on. But why? Why? You said they put you in a home, but why would they just throw you out of the home? Why? For what reason?
from from the turn you down. Yes, from the turn down your asylum, then put you out. They're
Mm.
putting you out. Yeah, from the turn down the asylum. And the lawyer said, "I'm going to appeal it." And he appealed it for me. All right. Because he appealed it and the appeal went through, they put me back into somewhere. The first time I'm going to the church, the pastor said, "Anyone have a testimony they want to share?" And I asked the lady beside me, "Is it okay because I'm a visitor?" And she said, "Yes, it's okay." And I held my hand up and he said, "Come and give your testimony." When I finished giving my testimony, the whole church broke down in tears. And from there, people starting to talk to me, and I get friends. I started to getting to know people there. And so when I got the turn down, one of the sisters said to me, "You know what? Come and stay with me, because I have 2 kids coming from school, and it's sometimes very hackling when I come back from work and my husband come back from work. So you can stay there and cook for us." And I said, okay. The third day, I cook because her husband and our children them love my cooking so much. The lady popped me by the Friday and said I have to leave. I asked her, what have I done? Have I done you something wrong? She said, no, you just have to leave. And I have to call my son brother and tell him. And he said, all right, he's coming for me. He came and he picked me up and he took me to one of their cousin house. When he went to the cousin house, the girl locked the door and lock him out. He took me to another cousin house. And when they take me to the smell alone in the house, oh my gosh, it was unbearable. But I had to stay there because I didn't have anywhere else to go. The girl said he had to pay her £40 to keep me there. Whenever the girl is going out, she said I have to go outside. She lock her door and say you have to stay out until I come back. Many days I have to take buses and go round and round and round to the bus terminus, and sometimes I fall asleep in the back seat of the buses. That's how I spend my days. Or sometimes I have to go to the city center and sit down in the city center, and they had a little place where people could go and get. That's how I could cook food. Over that place, you could get something for 69 pence. That's where I used to go and sit down. And then the dreadlocks guy said, you know what? We need somebody to help with the cooking, Why you don't come cook and give a change in the cooking here? And that's when I start getting something to eat. Then they turned me down again. The appeal came through and they turned me down again. After they turned me down again the second time, I was back on square one again. And a friend put me up, and the solicitor did again apply for appeal. The third time, he said, you know what? I'm appealing to the tribal union because you have a strong case. That time, the people them were talking about packing me and deport me back to my country. And the solicitor applied, and the appeal was granted by the tribal union. And I went to court, and the judge was all in my favor. And I was granted my indefinite. Granted my indefinite, they put me into a place to stay for a while until they get a house, they fix up, because they remodel the old houses them and put me in. I got a house there, and my girlfriend said to me, like, oh, you get your indefinite 6 months after apply for your citizenship. And I did that. But before all of that, I went through a lot of, I was staying amongst a friend. No, I was, where I was staying, I got turned down the second time. Before all of that, when I get the turn down the second time, I call a girl in another city, and she said, come over, man, I can get a job for you. A living job. I said, all right, that sounds good. I went over to her.
Before you continue, Carla, Camille asked a question, and I think it's a valid question. You said the kids went up, the kids that didn't die went up and they sent for you, right?
The second son, right, and his brother, the first brother, the brother who come down to carry up my son, to with him, he's not my son, he's their father's son.
Okay, so they sent for you from Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
So the question that Camille wants to know is, if they sent for you, why is it that you had to be boxing about like that when you got there?
that is it. I didn't know it was that kind of circumstances I was coming into either. I didn't expect that. Because when I come first, he carried me to a place and said that's where I'll be staying. But the girl where he put me to stay, the girl was a cokehead. She she was a cokehead and she was doing a lot of things and telling lies on me that I am stealing out them coke and I'm poor me. I don't even like smell that stinking thing. So I had to leave from there. I couldn't take it. I had to leave from there. So I when I when I when I went, I get before when I get the second turn down, and I went. I think I called my niece and I asked her if I can come and stay at our house. She said no. Our husband said he don't want no family member at him house. I remember a little elder man that I knew. I called him and him said, come and stay. But I sorry, I want to repeat something there before I go there, sir. My niece, when I called her the first time, and she said she can get the job for me, the people that she put me with was some people from Nigeria. The lady said she just want me to take her kids to school, wash their clothes, iron it, and cook for me and them. All right. About 3 weeks in it, about a month in it, she always come home every evening and said, gee, what you cook today? Because she always loved to eat what I cook. And one morning, about a month now, one morning she woke up late and she said, oh my gosh, please, I'm asking if you can put on my little boy clothes for me and let him go to and take him to school. And I said, all right, because she used to tidy them and put on them clothes and let them take them to school. When she went, I took the little boy, I set the bath, and I showered him. And the husband came upstairs and see me showering the little boy, and he blazed me to pieces. Who the hell tell you to put him in the bath and do it? And I said, but I'm showering him to put him to carry him to get him clothes on and carry him to school. And the man blew me to pieces. He was carrying on. You'd think I did something to the child. And he called the wife, and she came back, and she said, pack your things and leave. Who dare you to put him in the bath? And I said, but you say I must look after him and carry him to school. At that time, it was -0 again. And the shoes that I had wasn't a shoes for that weather. And the little jacket that I had wasn't for that weather. And they put me out. The snow was to my ankle. I went to the bus stop and I was crying, because all I had was 10 pounds. I went, and the bus that came was a Jamaican man driving the bus.
But what I
And he
don't
said,
understand is this. Just for giving the child a bath, though?
pardon?
Just for giving the child a bath?
Just for giving the child a bath, my brother.
So what was wrong with you giving the child a bath?
She don't pay them. When they come, what I realized, when they come from school in the evening, children play and they're sweaty. What I see them do, take off them uniform, throw it in the wash, and put on them night clothes, and eat them dinner and go straight to bed. That's how I see them do it. And I don't see them fear and say nothing, so I can't say anything. But going to school in the morning, I thought they shower them. For the month I was there, she just called me when him in him uniform and said take him to school. And I realized the baby was 8 months old. And the first morning when I woke up there and take the little boy to school and come back with the baby to give her our shower, all of the little baby vagina was sore between our legs. And the mother said, do not take off her pampers until she, or if she, only if she poo, I must take off the pampers. And it's, oh gosh, I was sorry for that child. Anyway, they put me out, and she did give me some, because she have a boutique. She did give me some nice things. She take them back and she burned them. And I said, but what have I done wrong? I just showered the child to take him to school, to look after him and take him to school. And they, who dare me to do that? That's all them depend. Who dare you? And I said, so I leave, and the busman, he said, where are you going? And I told him, so I want to get to Victoria Station, but I don't know if I don't have enough money to pay a bus fare from here to there. And he said, don't worry, I will take you to the court station. And he take me to the court station, and I get a call. I get a coach to Victoria. When I went to Victoria, I was up and down in Victoria Station, walking to and fro, because I don't know where to go. Then I remember the little elder man there, and I went there, and I couldn't stand my breath when he opened the door, but I didn't have anywhere to go. I had to sleep on his couch. Anyway, the morning I woke up, and I go around to my niece to ask her if she could help me with something to eat, because I was so hungry. And she wasn't there. And I sat on her fence and I cried. And her husband drive up and said, what you doing here crying? And I told him what happened. And he said, then why you didn't call? Why you didn't let us know? I said, I called my niece. And she said, you say you don't want any family member here, because they had an empty room there. The husband said, she tell her that I said that. He said, hold on. And he called her right there in front of me. And she couldn't even talk. She couldn't even speak. And I said, look at that family. Anyway, I said to him, it's okay.
So
and I leave.
So she used her husband's name as excuse for not make you come out the
yeah. Family. And the husband was really hard with Anna. I'm telling you, it really upset him. Anyway, I leave, and I went, and I realized I had about 50% on my phone, and I called a friend in Oxford. This guy would go to the church I used to go, in a crippled guy. And I called him, and he said, Sister Joan, come over and stay with me and my sister and our kids them. I don't have the fear to come over. And he said, listen, I'm going to call me, talk to my sister. And him talk to him sister, and the sister buy a ticket for me. I said, all right, go to the court station and tell them, say you come Oxford City, and they would look, just tell them your name. When I get to Oxford City, and 1 week I was there, and by the Friday she said to me, sorry, but you have to find somewhere and go, because our father didn't pay the council tax, and the council might come put them out and lock the door. Jeez, I'm crying it. The Saturday, the door was locked. I lock it in, I take out my clothes, I take out my suitcase. The councillor bolt up the doors. I went into the city center, and I sit down, and I cried, because I don't know what to do again. And something said to me, call your sister in Naysden. I called my sister, and she said, come over. And she sent money and said, go pick up the money and come over. And I went over to her, and she said, her husband don't like Christians, so she not gonna want me stay there, because she don't want the argument. But him have a house in Brixton, she go talk to him if me can stay there. He said yes. He took me over to the house. When he took me over to the house, he said to me, when he pulled the door, he said, let me tell you something. You see your God? Make your God find somewhere put you by 3 months' time. May I give you 3 months in this house here. And the same time of the 3 months, the man come and lock me outside. May I have to take a train and go back to Naysden, and I go to the church I used to visit there, and there was no one at the church. I sat down on the church step and I cried. I was frustrated. I cried. Cold, freezing, and crying, and hungry on top of it. And then I hear movements in the church, and when I look, I saw one of the minister, and when she saw me, she said, I see why God told me to come down to the church, because I was wondering why he told me to come to the church. I see no why. She said, come. And I told her on the way, I told her what happened. And she said, never mind. We will go over there and go for your things them tomorrow. Just come. And she carried me which part she live. And she said, come stay with me. She adopted 3 girls. And the big girl never liked what she did. In that part of that part is Doncaster. Over there, when they're putting you in houses, they take pictures. So it's only who on the pictures in the house. And she took me in. One night I was there, and the big daughter called the council and tell them, said our mother taking somebody in the house. 10 o'clock the night, I'm just into a Dacron cotton nightie and my bed slippers, and I heard the door knock. I was going towards the door, but something said no, and I go to her and I said, Minister Tina, somebody at the door, and she said, go to the back door. That's if anything. She said, who is it? And the council said, it's the council. Come and open the door. I had to take time, slide the back door by the time she come down the step, and take time, slide it back, and jump over 2 fence. As a lucky thing, dog never know the yard them. I jump over 2 fence and went up the road, and I have to sit down because the counselor there until after 12. They never leave until after 12. I was frostbitten. I couldn't touch my nose. I couldn't touch my ears. I was in pain beyond pain. Finally, when they leave, because I watched the car, I was watching the car. I come back down, but I take back through the fence them, through the yard them, through the fence this them low, and I come back on the back. I enter back from the back part, and she call her sister, and her sister say, you know what? Tell her to go to Heathrow Airport and tell them say her case. She have a case in the Home Office, and they will put her into a hostel. I did that the next morning, and they put me in a hostel in Luton. When I went to the hostel, oh my gosh, it was disgusting. People were nasty, and the place was, oh my gosh. And I have to share one room, I have to share with a Muslim woman and her children, and it was unbearable. I was there 1 week and 1 week and about 3 days, and the Wednesday the Home Office guys them come, and one of the guys said to me, you look like my mother. Gosh, you resemble my mother. And he said, you're a Christian. And I said, yes. And he said, I can see it on you. He said, you know what? You don't need to stay at this place. I'm going to move you. So he said the following Wednesday, look for my name on the paper, where them put up the paper. And I make sure pack from the Tuesday and ready to leave. They took me to which part they're gonna carry me, because they drop off some people at some city and drop off one at another set at another city. And they put me into another hostel there. And when to eat, you have to take, the step is 100 steps to walk down and to come back up. I couldn't deal with it because of my heart condition. And they took me out and put me into a house with 6 bedrooms. The lady, me and this Indian lady share downstairs, and the other 4 them have everything upstairs. And the Indian lady, she was a demanding person. She tests my faith time and time again. And one day, I just come from church and was singing and washing a cup, and she come to me and said, get out of the way. I need to use the kitchen to sing. Get out of the way. And I turned to her and I said, let me tell you something. I will take this cup and knock you in your face. Get out of my face. Please, don't molest me. You know what that lady did? She get some men clothes and children clothes and put into the washing machine and call the council and tell them so me are taking washing at the place. And the washing machine mash up and everything. I stop wash there. I take my clothes to the laundry. One day I was going to the laundry, and this lady from South Africa, she was there in the house too. and she was following the Indian lady. And she came out the street behind as I came out to go to the laundromat and said, "Hey, Christian girl, you say you're Christian and you take man clothes. You stop taking man them clothes." And I come to her and I come back across the street and I said, "Why are you doing this? We are two black women. Why are you doing this? Why are you following that lady and doing this?" And the lady gave me one punch in my face and burst my lip. I forgot that I was serving God that time. And I lift her and throw her into the fence and walk away. I had to go and repent and ask God for forgiveness because I'm really sorry for her, what I did to her after. And I couldn't stay there. And they moved me from there and put me into another hostel. In that hostel, I because I do ear, I that can back up the little benefit what they're giving you. Because the little benefit it couldn't have served you for a week. Anyway, I need a microwave and I bought a microwave and put in the kitchen because I said, there's no microwave and the six of us there and no microwave to use. And two of the girls get turned down and they lift my microwave and carry with them. And I said, "Father, I went through, believe me. And since I get my citizenship."
Before you go to that, I just have to ask. Not saying that it's a bad thing that they took you from Jamaica, gave you the opportunity to leave Jamaica. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But why get you from Jamaica and then turn them back on you just so?
They just leave me. They just leave me up like that. And honestly, because my second son, who the brother did send for too, him did get deep. Him did get come over to him in time and MC and him did get deep. So the brother just low me up. I couldn't pressure him because I know my son. But I just thank him for the opportunity for help me out from Jamaica. But it was a struggle. It was a struggle. For months, I never eat cooked food. For months, I never know how food tastes. It's just biscuit, tea, and bread. I had to be eating nothing else because I couldn't afford to buy food. I never have nowhere to get a proper meal. And it so happened that when I get my citizenship now and I get my house, two Jamaican girl, one of them, I know her from the church I used to go in Jamaica, and I saw that she didn't have anywhere to live because her family threw her out. And my heart couldn't give me, and I said, I'm not supposed to carry anybody in the house, but let me see. I have some friend, I'm going to talk to them and see if them can help you. And the girl come here, and she run up my phone bill for £250 and know that it's benefit I'm on because I can't work. I sleep in my BART. The council tell him to come, my doctor tell him to come and take out the BART because of osteoarthritis in the left hip and to put in a walk-in. And the council said they don't have any money to do that. And the Red Cross came and did the assessment and said I have to wait because there's so many people with the same problem. And I slip in my BART and damage up my lower backbone. So I cannot, they put me in the category of disabled. I cannot work. And as the girl run up my phone bill and her action, she wanted to wear T-shirt and G-string in my house. And I said, no, I don't go with that. And I can't deal with your conduct. So you know what, it's better you leave. And the girl went to my bishop and tell the bishop, oh, may I run down a man? May I run down a white British man and the man I want me, and may I run a follow behind the man?
By now, you should all know how this works. If you want to find out what her pastor said to her after her friend went to the pastor, click the link in the description. It will take you on over to the main channel Unstoppable Live, to the exact video where you can listen to the rest of what was shared in its entirety. When you go over there, remember to hit that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, so once we go live you will get notified and you will be there to participate and call in and share your views in whatever topic we are streaming at the time. Also remember to hit the subscribe button right here on the recap channel, so once we drop another recap you will see the video that you possibly missed. Until the next Unstoppable recap, stay strong, stay motivated, but most of all, remain unstoppable.
Unstoppable.